Salutations endeuillées et révérences, fais ce que voudra sera l'entier de la loi. Mournful salute and reverence to what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Greetings and welcome back to Abstract TV and Abstract Radio. I'm your host, the Reverend Abstract Live at your service. Bonjour et bienvenue à nouveau sur Abstract TV et Abstract Radio. Je suis votre hôte, le révérend Malstrom Black à votre service. Et ben là, je fais pour le fun. J'ai rien à dire de particulier, alors on fait du spontané. Où est-ce que ça donne? So as I was saying, I am only streaming spontaneously with nothing in particular that I want to say. So let's take it as it goes and see where it takes us. C'est la pioche. Découvert un groupe que je connaissais pas, qui est une espèce d'émule de Carcasse, mais le vieux Carcasse, en fait, c'était très gore, puis les structures de tunes qui étaient plus napalmnettes du début. C'est la pioche, puis c'est des petits accords, des morts, des descentes de drum à 800 000 à l'heure entre les descentes. De temps en temps, double bass de ralenti, on part à 100 000 à l'heure. Des patterns typiques classiques de cette époque-là. Avec des petits beats de des beats qui restent dans la tête. Earworm. Qui risque qu'ils sont rendus qui vont vite, les drummers, ça n'a plus de style, non, ça. Mick Harris, début du blast beat, qui est le père du blast beat, supposément, mais il y en a qui disent que non. C'est une longue histoire, on pourra en débattre longtemps. Et ça ne m'intéresse guère d'y aller dans le sujet, alors on va revenir à mon idée de proposition. Donc, les débuts du blast beat, c'était comme du marteau, il piochait tellement fort pour que ça pète. C'est à peu près ça, là. Mais comme on n'avait jamais rien entendu d'aussi rapide avant, il y avait Vermac. Vermac, c'était vite, Vermac, là. Les Pandettes sont arrivés, ils ont fait. C'était ça, la vitesse de la Pandette. C'était vraiment là, pas hyper rapide. C'était aussi pioché un petit peu pour l'entendre. Mais ça allait vite, mais tout de même. Contrastant avec le reste de pré-développement du blast beat, si j'ose dire. C'est certain que le Slayer qui était quand même assez rapide, c'était pas vraiment très rapide quand même. C'était plus le ride sur le top de la cloche, il allait vite. Ou sur la hi-hat, il allait vite. Et le snare et le bass drum, c'était plus d'être tight, d'être steady. C'était important, c'était pas d'aller vite. Ils ont commencé à développer l'accélération pour aller vite partout. C'était fou. On se faisait crisser dehors partout dans les places où on se tenait et qu'on voulait mettre du Napalm. Tout le monde disait « Ah! » Tout le monde enlevait ça et se mettait à capoter. C'est pas de la musique. C'est quand même ridicule. Quand tu y penses qu'aujourd'hui, la plupart de ces licheux-là sont rendus qui ne jurent que par ça. Il y a un clown, moi, il m'avait presque scrappé mon dépôt de carcasse. Il m'avait dit que c'était pourri et qu'il ne voulait rien savoir. Après ça, me leur scindé 2 ans plus tard parce que le carcasse était résumé. Alors, j'avais des choses rares parce que c'était des trainings, des lives bootlegs, des démos, plein d'affaires. Pour un petit jeune de 16 ans, j'étais très hyperactif. Et, entreprenant dans mes différents sujets d'intérêt laborieux, j'étais de plus en plus dévoué à créer des entreprises des jeunes dans mon entrepreneuriat s'est démontré il s'est manifesté assez tôt. J'ai commencé à prendre un peu des chandails, à faire des fanzines, à faire des designs graphiques, puis à faire des photocopies. C'était compliqué dans ce temps-là. Là. Il n'y avait pas des accès faciles technologiques comme aujourd'hui, les scanners. Puis ça, c'était du photocopiage Xerox. On découpait, puis on collait, puis on faisait des masters. Donc, le master était bien monté pour que ça décolle, parce que je faisais des photocopies. Puis le premier calice de coups, le premier master de mon fanzine, c'était une astuce d'affaires de fou. C'était ça d'épais d'une grosse enveloppe pour faire un fanzine qui était à peu près le tiers de l'épaisseur. Il faut plier en deux dans le complet. C'était fou, c'était très, très épais, alors que lui, plié en deux, il avait été réductionnaire. C'était pas pliable, c'était toutes des planches que tu laissais flat, les photocopies. Il n'était pas recto verso, fait que il fallait les mettre dans l'ordre. Le recto, on virait à la feuille, le verso. Il fallait le savoir en tabarnak. C'est le clown qui printait, c'était pas un véritable professionnel de ça. Pour savoir comment monter des affaires destinées à reliure, parce qu'il y en a qui savent, ils travaillent dans ça, dans la communauté, le computer. Mais quand ils ne savent pas, ou que c'est moi qui le fais à la main sur les Xerox dans une pharmacie, dans ce temps-là, c'était ça. 10 cents de photocopie quand on était chanceux. Des fois, 25 cents, imagine-tu. Ça me coûtait 25$ pour monter un master de fanzine. C'était laborieux. Il fallait avoir décidé que tu allais faire, que le résultat t'intéressait, là, que tu allais faire en sorte que ce que tu voulais qui arrive. Là. Ça prenait des dispositions et de la détermination tabarnak. Quand je décidais que j'allais faire quelque chose, je le faisais. Il n'y a jamais rien eu. Alors là, j'ai décidé que j'allais rouler un joint et j'allais le fumer, mais je l'ai oublié. Il y a 1 heure qui traîne partout. Je vais le retrouver, je le repose, je l'oublie. Je fais du ménage en même temps, puis je nourris les chats, puis je remonte la cuisine. Je remarque que mon plancher est sale, fait que je vais me mettre à 4 pattes tantôt pour le nettoyer un peu, pour le nettoyer un peu, une fois 2 semaines, une fois par mois, je suis négligent. Mais bon, ce qu'on fasse, on a des souliers, mais des bottes d'un pied tout le temps, on fait 7 litres. C'est du bois franc, puis de la tuile. C'est ça que ça fait. Mais c'est pas grave, j'ai pas de mop, je fais ça gagner. J'ai un bon balai, il fait le job. Pour le reste, j'ai une grosse serviette décommissionnée. Une vieille serviette de plage. Je crisse de l'eau à terre, je pogne la serviette, envoie la vie. Après ça, les litres plus spotés, je fais ça gagner. Puis je repose la serviette en la passant dans la cliente de l'autre bord. Merci, bonsoir. Après ça, la serviette trempe dans le bain. On la savonne, on la replie puis qu'elle sèche une pause. Alléluia. Ça abonne avec l'élastique. C'est brouillard 50. Et que c'est ça. J'ai réussi, j'ai acheté un balai. Quand tu as fait le temps achetable, ça coûte quand même 25$ pour aller. Quand tu ne l'as pas dans les poches, au moment que tu as 25$ d'autres affaires à acheter, il n'y a pas de temps à faire. C'est du niaisage. Des paresseux, des mangeurs de marde. Le désirateur disait. Es-tu encore en tabarnak ici où tu as défoncé ta face? Ça, c'est tes d'hormones de territorial de nous avec l'autre. Qui risquent de niaisage des fois, ça. C'est mieux d'être fine. Les hypocrites qui viennent m'attaquer après avoir fait semblant d'être content de me voir. J'aime pas ça. Sois gentil ici. Bon, je t'aime. Pas tout l'album, je t'aime. À un moment donné, tu vas m'éteindre d'être métal. Mais j'ai découvert un esti de filon de la mort. Je ne le savais pas. L'Indonésie. Jakarta, des places à même, là. Singapour, puis je sais pas trop. Je suis pas très ferrant en géographie, mais j'ai une idée des géopolitiques générales. Donc, l'Indonésie, quelque part dans le bas de l'Asie, l'Eurasie, en tout cas, je suis tout clair. Wouh! J'ai jamais été terrible en géographie. Je sais à peu près c'est quoi la différence entre les continents, c'est déjà ça. Je m'en contente et satisfait. La technologie moderne me permet d'avoir accès à n'importe quelle précision si nécessité se présente. Alors, voilà. Mon père me disait, ben oui, mais par culture générale, tu devrais être fier de savoir toutes ces choses. Ben oui, mais polyvalent, mais pas spécialiste. Moi, j'ai des spécialités dans ma polyvalence. Je vais être très polyvalent. Je me polyvalente je me polyvalente dans des sphères complémentaires de ce qui m'intéresse et qui me motive d'ailleurs justement davantage à m'aventurer à l'exploration du sujet puis à pas seulement mémoriser les données relatives à ce dernier, mais bien en maîtriser le contenu parce qu'il m'intéresse. Hein? C'est pas toi qui m'enseignais ça? Bon, on va parler d'un break. Hey, j'ai un Tumblr blog, abstractoids.tumblr.com. Je commence à mettre des affaires pas pires dessus. J'ai Mr. Bongo, un show complet. Tu sais, il y a tellement de stock sur YouTube, tu peux pas trouver ça en le cherchant. C'est parce que ça t'arrive par hasard. Disons, je fais vraiment de suggestions. Avant, je laissais tout le temps ça à off dans une idéologie de vie privée, puis de garder l'anonymat, puis de pas les laisser dataminer mon derrière pour faire de l'argent sur mon dos. Mais dans des contextes précis, comme pour YouTube, pour qu'ils soient en mesure de mieux me connaître et mieux savoir ce que j'aime, puis me suggérer des trucs, je me suis révisé. Puis c'est extraordinaire. Le résultat, il me suggère plein de bandes que j'aurais jamais découvert autrement. Jamais. Ou probablement, très peu probablement. C'est selon. C'est selon vos aspirations. Donc, on va revenir à dire que je suis heureux, je fais des découvertes, puis je vous en fais part et le montrer, c'est que d'un bord, c'est la station de radio, l'autre bord, c'est la station de TV. La station de TV, on est délinquants, je m'en calisse, je l'écris dans le bas. Vous irez voir. Puis je passe plein de films que j'aime. J'ai une librairie de films. Moi, j'étais un bon pirate, puis j'en parle pas plus. Je fais pas d'argent, je suis pas un crasseur qui se fait des tables au marché aux puces en photocopiant des vieux livres d'impression que j'ai livrés à DVD, puis après ça, aller vendre ça comme d'autres faisaient dans le temps. Ça, c'est de la contrefaçon qui est criminelle, puis selon moi, devrait être punie. Selon moi. Ça a une envergure démesurée, mais tu graisses sur le dos de quelqu'un qui a été créatif alors que tu ne l'es pas pendant tout. Tu es juste ingénieux puis crasseur. Mais accéder à du contenu sans le payer, ça, je suis pas fin. C'est ce qu'on fait. Depuis mon VIC-20 et mon Commodore 64, c'est que j'étais un pirate. L'Internet n'existait même pas. Il y avait juste des BBS, des Bolton Board Systems. Puis on se branchait avec des gros modems. Des modems horriblement lents. C'était des 14K. Puis après ça, 28.8. Puis 36K. C'était fou. C'était lent. Parce qu'après ça, les derniers modems à téléphone, c'était des 56K V90 qui étaient performants, de ce genre-là. Puis après ça, paf, l'Internet câble brûle dessus, puis là, la fibre, puis là, on est rendu compte, on sait plus c'est quoi des téléphones. Là. Mais dans le temps, là, ton téléphone, c'était vraiment... Il parlait avec ton ordinateur. Moi, Bell Canada m'avait donné une application qu'on fait installer. Eux m'envoyaient un pulse sur l'ordinateur qui disait « On essaie de t'appeler chez vous ». Je disais « Ah oui ». Je pouvais cliquer « Attends ». Sur l'ordi. Bell envoyait une affaire qui avisait l'autre au téléphone après avoir répondu en prétendant que c'était moi en disant « L'abonné que vous cherchez, je vous demande de patienter un instant. » Puis là, moi, j'arrivais. Puis là, « Hey, salut, ben oui, j'ai vu que tu avais appelé. » Puis ça me coûtait une fortune. Je pense qu'il me facturait quelque chose comme un 10 pour 3 mois, une espèce de bundle. C'était n'importe quoi. 10 piastres, ça se fait fourrer juste pour être capable de savoir comme un genre d'afficheur. Qui était très peu performant, puis la plupart du temps, le monde était renvoyé automatique à boîte vocale. Ils sont bien bons là-dedans, belles, les boîtes vocales. Mais tout de même, c'est les premiers balbutiements de l'époque. Imagine, le monde ne pouvait pas t'appeler. S'il était sur Internet, là, tu ne pouvais pas appeler personne quand tu étais sur le net. Des fois, j'appelais du monde, 2 jours, 3 jours avant de réussir à finalement lui parler en personne.
C'est Chris, ça fait 3 jours que j'essaie de t'appeler, j'ai beau te laisser des messages. Ben, je prends pas, je suis sur Internet, on joue à World of Warcraft. Non, c'était pas World of Warcraft, c'était EverQuest. Dans ce temps-là, c'est vrai. Ça fait longtemps. EverQuest. Le monde vendait leurs items sur eBay. Ça avait dérapé un peu. On n'ira pas là, c'est une tangente que je n'ai pas envie d'explorer à ce moment de la conversation avec moi-même. Donc, dans ce monologue merveilleux, avant de digresser dans toutes les avenues, je parlais du Blast Beat. Ben oui, les idées principales, c'est le fun d'en revenir à ça. Puis du fait que sur Tumblr, j'ai plein de bons contenus non complémentaires, comme je disais après avoir parlé du Blast Beat. Mais ben oui, j'ai plein de gars comme là. C'est mon stream préféré, c'est le format le plus pratiquement viable à plein d'exportation ou d'upload d'ailleurs. Il est 50 minutes et 1 seconde. Ça aurait été cute, ça aurait été 50 minutes pile. Pas parce qu'il est mesuré, ça a donné le même. Et donc, par conséquent, en passant, avez-vous mon look d'Intello? Moi, je ne l'aime pas pantoute. Je n'ai pas fait mon deuil de ma face avec des lunettes. Je ne veux plus rien. Si je veux lire à l'ordi, je mets des lunettes. Je les ai trouvées, ces lunettes-là. Je suis quand même content. C'est pas des lunettes cheap de pharmacie à 10$. C'est des lunettes à prescription que quelqu'un a perdu. Je n'ai pas déçu. Ils étaient tordus. J'ai détordu. Ils sont graffinés beaucoup le verre. Il y a des bouts qui sont opaques. Il faut que je bouge ma tête pour être capable de voir. Comme là, si je veux voir clairement, il faut que je bouge ma tête. Pour lire, des fois, c'est tannant un peu. Parce que le front est opaque. Ils sont tombants en plein sur le verre. Des scratchs à terre. Plusieurs reprises. Si je les ai trouvés comme ça. Mais bon, ils sont tout de même pratiques. Puis j'ai une paire moins graffinée que je connais. J'ai trouvé aussi dans l'étui, quand même, j'ai trouvé 2 étuis avec 2 paires de lunettes. Une que je ne porte pas parce que la force est trop démesurée et ça m'aurait trop dit. Celles-là, ironiquement, ne sont pas assez fortes pour que je sois vraiment en mesure de lire adéquatement avec. Alors que celles-ci sont pile-pile. Mais ils ne sont pas graffinés, ils sont super belles, puis propres, puis neuves, puis c'est des belles montures fancy. Un peu plus féminines. Parce que les regarder par avoir la couleur, c'est probablement marketé comme des lunettes de femme. Mais c'est pas grave, je trouve sympathique. Il épouse bien la face. Puis comme le frame est pâle, on dirait que j'ai pas de lunettes, à moins de voir le reflet du verre. Parce que ceux-là, sont contraste noir. Là. J'ai des lunettes, on les voit. Mais bon, c'est une autre tendance. Alors, pour revenir, donc, ce qu'on entend derrière, c'est Veil of Penat, qui est un autre groupe que j'ai découvert les dernières années, pas récemment. Ces lunettes-là pour lire, il n'y a vraiment rien à faire. Je vais m'embrouiller. Je vois mieux qu'il n'y a pas de lunettes, mais il faut quand même m'embrouiller. Tu sais, en termes d'esthétique, c'est weird, on dirait qu'il n'y a pas de lunettes. Mais il épouse bien la face, puis il voit belle moins. Lui, il a fallu que je les retorbe beaucoup. Je taponne. Il faut y aller lentement. Puis si tu blanchis de métal en tordant trop, en prenant de demande, ils vont finir par casser. C'est le principe de blanchir du métal. Casse. Ça. C'est des liens de fracture, direct au joint. C'est tannant si ça se produit. Alors, je fais attention et donc, en prenant mon temps, j'ai réussi à les modeler, à les remodeler, dire, à la forme qui me convient. Puis assez tête qui épouse ma face, puis qu'ils ne tombent pas. Parce qu'imagine, la dernière fois qu'ils ont failli tomber, ils sont tombés presque dans la toilette pendant que je suis en train de pisser. On a toute tendance à s'organer à la graine quand on se sait quoi à faire sur mon face. C'est le fun de ne pas manquer notre shot pour en mettre partout. Bon, alors voilà, mais je les ai retordus et réappropriés adéquatement au café. Je vais avoir la face tordue et des croches, un petit peu de lunettes fines. Voilà. Alors mon meilleur profil, c'est pas celui-là, la face tordue et des croches. C'est bien, je sais pas. On s'en calisse. C'est la vie. Le nez cassé, je ne sais pas combien de fois. Ça vient avec le territoire. Avec les modes de vie, les expériences. Mais on n'en parlera pas non plus. Autre tangente que je n'aborderai pas présentement. Je n'arborerai ou n'aborderai pas d'hybride. Bon, je suis content, il y a un petit logo, il faut cliquer dessus. Subscribe. C'est ça, je parle pas, c'est juste du contenu de radio. Là. C'est toutes des tunes qui se suivent, puis c'est très hétéroclite. Et après ça, Système of a Down. Faut faire attention pour ne pas t'aller par le chagrin. Ça, c'est du Staphylococcus. C'est du Amorphis. Encore du Staphylococcus. Du Tom York. J'aime ça. Au lieu de Radiohead. Du Staphylococcus. Il faut que je me plage quand même. Du Vélopanac que j'aime. Encore du système of a Down. On va terminer sur du Vélopanac. Parce que je venais des cités que je les ai intégrés dans ma programmation. Pour cet épisode. Et un autre épisode plus récent. Les comiques, je pars en chialant. C'est 7 heures de temps du stream. Des fois, il y a certains streams qui sont longs. Bon, à part de ça, c'est qu'il y a d'autres. Je pense que du jam, des fois.
Give me a second. Fuck's sake, Austin. Can I have a minute? Austin Lost.
Yes, I know.
I'm having lunch tomorrow at my club with Gregory Clark from British Electric and social potential of Larry Lyndon. We could all go for a drink out afterwards.
Il y a plein de bons groupes que j'ai découverts, en tout cas. Winter Fillet.
Well, you can really take
C'est Winter, F-Y-L-L-E-T-H. Fait que si on le dit prononcé adéquatement, ça doit être Winter Fillet. Puis dans leur langue, ça doit vouloir dire c'est l'hiver. Ou l'hiver dur ou l'hiver n'est pas fini. Une affaire de même. Mais ça a l'air d'être un participe actif. Donc, c'est un verbe au participe présent de je ne sais trop. Winter Fillet. C'est un état peut-être. C'est l'hiver. Je ne sais pas. J'y pense. C'est mon analyse logique. Je suis paresseux, j'ai pas encore fait de vérification. Je vais l'écrire tout de suite, on va le savoir. Non, c'est un vieux mot anglais, voilà. Fullness of Winter. Oh, Winter Full Moon. Hey, j'aime ça. What's the name of the month of October in Anglo-Saxon times? Ah, ouais. Le club s'appelait Winter Fillet. The name comes from the word winter and full moon. Fillet, ah, c'est vrai. Ben oui, fillet, full moon. Because the first full moon of winter occurs in October. Oh! Hey, j'aime ça au bout. Mais je peux pas la laisser jouer la donne, même si j'aime le sujet et que la donne m'inspire. Parce que là encore, c'est rendu des astis d'affaires de chasamage. Là. On peut pas être un poste de radio underground sans se faire flaguette les astis de 2 minutes pour des viols de droits d'auteur. Puis alors que c'est pas le cas pantoute. Si je les paraphrase, les bandes, je mets des liens, je répète à tort et à travers que c'est pas mon contenu, que c'est pas ma composition. Je parle des bandes, je dis qu'est-ce qu'ils ont représenté ou qu'ils représentent encore pour moi, mes influences, etc. Comme n'importe quel animateur de n'importe quel asti de radio underground. Puis j'ai réussi à faire redébloquer l'abstractoïde, que je ne veux pas me refaire bloquer. On a déjà 3 strikes sur 3, là, je respire même plus. Donc, on est présentement sur mon YouTube personnel. Karim Simard Mamie, qui lui, en principe, ne devrait pas servir pour abstractoïde, mais bon, je ne suis pas en conflit d'intérêt, je ne suis pas bloqué sur rien d'autre. C'est juste que j'ai pas de strike ou j'ai juste une strike, je pense, sur Karim Simard Mamie, parce que j'avais streamé un abstractoïde au début. Mais là, j'essaie de plus trop le faire souvent, à part comme maintenant. Comme je m'entretiens avec vous et je le fais cordialement, mais qu'il n'y a pas de contenu vraiment qui est diffusé à l'occasion de cette prestation de monologue spontané. Il n'y a pas de risque qu'il y ait des Shazam qui viennent me flaguer et que je pogne des strikes. Alors, je vais être prudent à cet égard. D'ailleurs, je vais prendre une pause et je vais aller fumer mon date que j'attends de fumer. Ben, moi, ça doit faire à peu près 2 heures qu'il traîne. Je le ramasse, je le repère, je le réoublie dans la cuisine, je le retrouve, je pense, je le mets sur la planche, je coupe les gars machinalement en faisant du café, je le redécouvre tantôt, je l'oublie, je l'ai presque perdu encore. Ça arrive, des fois, je perds des joints complètement. J'y retrouve une semaine après, là, je ris. Parce que j'ai plus de potes quand je les trouve. C'est souvent un timing extraordinairement. Un timing extraordinairement exquisé. Je vais dire adéquat. C'est un mot qui célèbre assez le fait que j'en trouve. Bon, et je digresse. Donc, je parlais de blast beat, de contenu, de variation. On en reparlera plus tard. Mais allez voir Factoid.tumblr. C'est plus personnalisé un peu. Quand j'ai des bonnes affaires que je découvre, je les mets souvent là-dessus sur Twitter. Il y a Mix, bien sûr, qui est mon portail préféré présentement, mais je vous en reparle aussi.
When we separated, I promised myself I'd say yes.
Le DVD de Lovecraft, j'ai gravé, parce que là, je suis rendu que je fais de l'overtime, et le petit laptop que j'utilise pour streamer présentement et vous parler, il est ressuscité sous Ubuntu, là, qui est une distro Linux qui atténue le stress que l'ordinateur subit. Puis justement, ça, c'est une vieille cochonnerie, cet ordinateur-là. Il est arraché de ses gonds sur une des deux charnières. Le couvert était presque complètement arraché. Il est craqué. Il y a plein de cristaux du LCD screen qui sont pétés dans le bas. À un moment donné, il y avait une grosse demi-lune noire de cristaux. Ironiquement, à force de m'en servir, ils se sont redistribués sous le coup de l'électricité et du magnétisme, je présume. Alors là, il en reste des traces dans le bas, en bas à gauche, mais à part quelques barres de couleur pétée, la caméra est impeccable. Le clavier est extraordinaire, il est rétro-éclairé d'un seul off and on avec un bouton. Il y a toute la roue d'en haut, toute la rangée d'en haut des boutons pour contrôler sans avoir besoin de rentrer des menus en cliquant avec ta souris. Les volumes, up, down, mute, tous ces boutons-là, parce que c'est une soi-disant une console multimédia, parce que c'est quand même un ordinateur facile dans le temps, c'était une Packer, pas très performant. Dans le meilleur scénario, il y a un quad-cœur, meilleur scénario, il y a 8 ou 12 gigs de RAM. Il n'est pas comme l'autre. L'autre que j'ai, c'est un 17 avec 12 gigs de RAM, c'est pas différent. Il prendrait 25 gigs. Et donc, pour venir à dire avant la tangente aussi, que c'est aussi le HP, laptop de l'époque où il y avait tous des lecteurs graveurs de DVD, de CD-DVD. Donc, il est capable de graver des DVD. Là, je me suis acheté des roulettes de DVD, c'est rendu que ça coûte presque plus rien. 12 pièces. Et 99, je pense 50. Puis ben, je me fais plein d'affaires. Vu que j'ai une vieille TV que j'ai ramassé au vidange, j'ai un lecteur DVD que j'ai ramassé au vidange, donc je vais prendre la suite. Puis, vu qu'avec le logiciel Convert X qui me permet de faire le menu que je veux, puis dans le sur le DVD que je fais, je peux aussi mettre des fonctionnalités comme le mettre en loop, en auto-start, en auto-play. Donc, je pars le DVD, je m'en vais. Puis là, mon DVD, je vais en loop, puis il fait de présence en maison. C'est du blabla. L'idée derrière ça est extraordinaire, c'est une vieille idée. Dans mon temps, on laissait toujours une lumière allumée, les stores entrouverts, mais à peine pas que quelqu'un puisse venir écouter. Ça se passe dans la maison, notre absence. Puis on mettait la radio, ben la TV. Donc, de l'extérieur, quelqu'un arrive, puis on entend. Il ne sait pas ce qui se passe. Et ça n'a pas l'air des arts, ça a l'air réalité.
A loosely connected canon which has gone on to become one of the literature's most influential creations.
Et souvent de la dissimulation aussi de ma présence en simulant un silence inapproprié à ma présence. l'occurrence dans la logique de pensée de l'occupation et de la vacation à ces activités que la production de bruit qui suivrait serait généralement substantielle et d'une intensité plus facilement audible que, en l'occurrence, lorsque
hidden in distant wastes and dark places all over the world, until the time when the great priest Cthulhu, from his dark house in the mighty city of R'lyeh under the waters, should rise.
Mais ça aussi, c'est une situation que je n'entends pas faire présentement. On va finir au bac.
Demons coming from hell, there are these weird tentacled creatures coming from other worlds into ours, and that they have been banished, and that they will return someday and regain what was once theirs.
The old ones are the universe. The old ones are the cosmos. They're that force beyond us that we're incapable of controlling, and they're that force. They're the universe that is vaster than we can ever comprehend.
Prior to Lovecraft, if you read horror, if you read ghost stories, you always have a vision of a world which is fundamentally hospitable. God is looking after you. God is looking after the good people. Good people will probably survive horror stories or ghost stories or whatever. Lovecraft redefined things. He took it away from the ghost story, away from the Gothic, and into this vision of a malign world, this place surrounded by evil, mad, horrible, monstrous things, always trying to get in, who frankly don't really care about us.
But what led an old-world xenophobic gentleman to write these tales of unknown abominations and cosmic gods?
Where bay and tranquil river blend, and leafy hillsides rise, the spires of Providence ascend against the ancient skies, and in the narrow winding ways, the climb o'er slope and crest, the magic of forgotten days may still be found to rest.
The Phillips House at 454 Angel Street was a vestige of old American values.
Lovecraft's family was very well-to-do, and I believe they considered themselves to be the Providence aristocracy. The Phillips line goes back very far in Providence history, all the way as early as the late 17th century. The Lovecraft side originates in England. He could trace that all the way back to about the 15th century. There were Lovecrafts or Lovecrofts in Devon.
He was truly almost a Mayflower specimen, preserved in the formaldehyde of New England. You know, he was an Anglophile. He was a guy that definitely did not get laid much. You know, and a guy that was an alien amongst us, in the sense that he was not a very masculine child.
After Winfield's death from syphilis on July 19, 1898, young Howard was all Susie Lovecraft had left. She mothered her child incessantly, so much so that she was known to make friends stoop when walking hand in hand with her son, for fear his arm would pull from its socket. Despite her over-attention, Susie Lovecraft's near-tentacle views restrained any physical affections toward her son. Lovecraft would later admit to his only wife that this form of mothering was devastating to him.
His grandfather, Whipple Phillips, was a very impressive industrialist. Lovecraft remembers Whipple telling him oral ghost stories at the age of 4 or 5. He tutored him in a number of other ways, trying to take interest in his education. In the attic was an immense library, presumably collected by his grandfather, and Lovecraft went up there as a boy with a candle secretly and started reading all these old books and fell in love with the 18th century.
Lovecraft was more than a product of his time, he's a product of a couple of centuries earlier. He was
one of the important things for the 18th century was the code of a gentleman. To live as a gentleman with dignity and honesty and integrity He read the literature of the 18th and early 19th centuries and said, I want to be like those people. I want to be like Alexander Pope, who wrote poetry just for the love of it.
I've always had the subconscious feeling that everything since the 18th century is unreal or illusory, a sort of grotesque nightmare or caricature.
Lovecraft learned a lot from this friend himself. In fact, all the learning that he had, I think, came from that. His schooling was intermittent at best. Apparently, he had various nervous maladies that kept him out of school. This was a time before education was mandatory. You didn't have to send your child to school if you didn't want to. At the age of 8, he became filled with a burning love of chemistry. Shortly thereafter, he discovered astronomy, which I think was an even more important influence. He says it was through astronomy that he gained a sense of the boundlessness of the universe and the insignificance of humanity within the cosmos.
There's a phrase that generally I only encounter it when reading or talking to people like paleontologists or geologists. The concept of deep time, which is pretty alien to people. Most people tend to think of history in terms of years. Deep time is that time before the comprehension of time, geological time. Is a way of thinking about it. We're working on a time scale where you talk about things like mountains are pushed up and red, continents shift, species evolve and determine change. But it's not really something you can process. Humanity was fluid of Earth, which made humanity itself small and threatened and fragile. So, because he was threatened and fragile to himself, he populated that emptiness of monsters.
Frequent visits to the attic gave Susie the impression that her son was trying to hide from the world and others, that he was a vulnerable child, uncomfortable with himself.
The relationship of Susie Lovecraft with her son was problematical at best. Clearly she loved him, but I think because of what had happened to her husband, Lovecraft's father, who had died of syphilis, I think she developed some weird love-hate relationship with Lovecraft. She called him hideous. That he said to a neighbor that he had a hideous face, and that's why he wouldn't go outdoors much.
Susie repeated these opinions enough times that her son actually grew to believe them. Insecurity mixed with classical tendencies segregated young Lovecraft from others his age. But this solitary childhood only kindled his imagination.
I used to be tormented constantly with a peculiar type of recurrent nightmare in which a monstrous race of entities, called by me night gods, used to snatch me up by the stomach and carry me off through infinite leagues of black air over the towers of dead and horrible cities, with vast aggregations of night black masonry, embodying monstrous perversions of geometrical laws.
Feeding his taste for the macabre was the recent discovery of tales by Edgar Allan Poe.
Lovecraft was the most significant descendant of Poe, and you can see that heritage most clearly in those early stories that evoke effects such as those in Telltale Heart. Telltale Heart could have been written by Lovecraft. He may have wanted to be a little like Edgar Allan Poe, but he went in a whole different direction with his imagination.
Poe talked about how a short story should be, everything should be there to create one particular effect. Whereas Lovecraft, I think, goes to much more bigger canvas.
In his teenage years, Lovecraft would attempt quite a few stories in the Poe style. Most, however, were destroyed by Lovecraft.
I think too many of us are too hard on themselves. It has to be said that, Lovecraft epitomizes this trend. And actually, I think it was one of the things we spoke about tonight, he was a great writer. I think, any writer who feels down about their own work should read Lovecraft about his own work. He almost never has a good thing to say about his own work. This may be a kind of version of what he perceives as good manners, because there's no doubt that he would have thought it's very ill mannered to praise him. I think that Lovecraft was full of insecurities at that time. He really didn't know what to pursue in terms of a career. Maybe he didn't feel he needed a career, at least in terms of the money, because he felt that money would always be there. shortly thereafter, he discovered the money wasn't going to be there.
In 1904, Whipple Phillips was already suffering from poor investments in a failed dam project. The stress of it all no doubt contributed to his death on March 28th. The house on Angel Street was sold. The library that schooled Lovecraft for 12 years went with it.
He loved that place. There he knew the only real security he ever had.
Even though it was only 3 blocks away, the new home Susie had picked for her son was an unknown country. Though high school would offer some enjoyment, Lovecraft was vexed by the subjects that escaped him.
Lovecraft said he had a full-scale nervous breakdown. We don't really know what that means. I personally believe that it was a result of his discovery that his lack of knowledge or lack of proficiency in mathematics prevented him from pursuing a career as an astronomer. In the summer of 1908, he simply left school and never returned.
Lovecraft's reclusion would last from 1908 until
La belle
1917.
Lucie, oui, mais tu
Judging
sors
from his
pas.
letters, this breakdown had all the earmarks of a deep depression.
I shunned all human society, deeming myself too much of a failure in
Ah,
order
c'est
to
bon,
be
j'ai
seen
dit.
socially by those who
Allez.
knew me as a youth and
Lucie.
foolishly expected great things. of me.
T'étais-tu? Allez, j'ai dit. Bon.
Lovecraft himself was pretty confident.
Comment ça, t'étais-tu, hostie? Mais oui, mais t'étais-tu? C'est tannant le défiage quand tu veux pas.
He would go out apparently, and then people saw him walking down the
Je
street.
suis en train de me demander si je m'en vais acheter, puis je pense à l'acheter ou pas.
Collar and looking straight ahead, not trying to make eye contact with anybody.
One activity that endured through this period was his reading. This exposed Lovecraft to the amateur pulp magazines that would one day be the outlet for his own work.
I think amateur journalism saved Lovecraft both as a writer and as a human being. There was Lovecraft in 1913, 1914, basically rotting away. He clearly didn't know what to do with himself. And then all of a sudden, here was this small world of amateur journalism where there were other people like him trying to be writers, but not writing for money. And I think that at that moment that was important to Lovecraft, because amateur journalism was kind of school for writers.
Lovecraft went on to publish his own amateur magazine, The Conservative. In its pages, he exhibited a strong passion for the beliefs he formed during his isolation, including a pronounced xenophobia.
The most alarming tendency observable in this age is a growing disregard for the established forces of law and order, whether or not stimulated by the noxious example of the almost subhuman Russian rabble. The less intelligent element throughout the world seems animated by a singular viciousness.
Every artist in every work of art is a product of the case of that. And he reflected a lot of very American people.
The failings he had intellectually with beliefs in racism and so on are reprehensible. They were then as they are now, and yet in a sense you can't expect a guy to read about his skin and modern sensibilities.
You have this really archaic, unbudging idea that for society to be stable, then it had to be monstrous.
He just didn't like to see the culture he knew go down the drain, which he felt would happen just by erosion as more and more immigrants came. It's almost an anti-Buchanan kind of thing.
He's absolutely genuinely worried of the evils of breathing, of being breathing in matter of fact. You know, the evils of taking purity on an almost alien sense of pride.
Regardless, the Conservative attracted fellow amateurs both sympathetic and contrary. They were attracted by Lovecraft's erudite mind.
And as a result, Lovecraft developed very close ties to a number of these amateur journalists. He became lifelong friends with them, and they exchanged many, many letters even after they had left the amateur journalism movement.
And he kind of found his home in another fan magazine. And he found a lot of like-minded souls out there who read his stuff and really loved it. And he developed followers.
almost like a culture. He wrote so many letters at such high heat and such intensity and at such length that it's easy to suppose that he sacrificed stories to the first time.
I believe he had something like over 120,000 letters written, and these letters are short pieces too. I mean, they're copious and pages of details and notes or suggestions on how to improve their writing.
As his web of correspondence grew, it also allowed Lovecraft to test early stories on respected readers. In 1919, an amateur journal called The Vagrant took notice. Dagon was the first of Lovecraft's stories to be printed. A captured sailor escapes German sea raiders, only to come aground on a stretch of sea bottom forced up by a volcanic upheaval.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
It's got this awful sense of atmosphere. The poor guys out in nowhere, sure of doom, with a black sun scowling on him. What an image.
As the sailor explores the reef, he discovers a Cyclopean model whose carved surface depicts a race of ancient fishermen.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
Suddenly, all hell breaks loose with this huge Charlie Toon character coming out and embracing this monolith. And then at the end, what happens is the narrator just demented. He's now on the other side of the world, and afraid that Charlie's following him. And he's, oh my God, the thing in the window. Well, it has this creature following him, or is he just plain nuts? We don't know, but either way, it's a great little story.
You know, you have it there, you've got the creature from the cyclopean creature from the sea. It's like a Cthulhu in miniature.
Dagon and other stories from this period would set the Lovecraftian model. Scholarly people discovering violations of natural law and being driven towards madness or death. It also exhibited Lovecraft's use of Baroque description and subjective adjectives.
One of the cliche notions of Lovecraft about his life, people don't know about his work, is that he only had one style that consisted mostly of piling on the adjective.
Like over the eldritch town of Dulwich, the gibbous moon hung, illuminating the squamous and the trachean inhabitants. So what he's saying is just that the moon was nearly full over the weird town of Dulwich, and everybody who lived there was bloody peculiar faults.
Well, Lovecraft is a Baroque writer, so that he goes in and carefully modulates these overripe, incredibly convoluted phraseologies and sentences and style, but it's all his own.
If you read this Lovecraft for the first time as an adult, if you read it it's not a modern style, it's not a Dylan style, it's not a very efficient style, and there are many, many things about it that are risible. You will pick a few words and overuse them. Eldritch, gibbous.
A lot of these stories are all new. Nothing happens. Especially nothing happens to the narrative. People who start terrified and we end up terrified.
And I don't think you can make conscious because you don't seem to write it in the first person and to keep writing. The ultimate parodic Lovecraftian praise is somebody going mad while writing and something's coming up. I can hear them now running up these steps. Their hellish tentacles are swerving at the door. I shall figure out the beast with 1,000 guns. Ka-dang, and you don't stop them. You disappear in a burst of ellipses.
It's a style that is incredibly innovative. And you know the guy went over it and over it and over it until he made the conversion that to his state, which made him wise.
One thing that influenced this purple style fascination with the writing of Lord Dunsany.
Magical tales, God, he has this amazing prose style, influenced by the Bible, counting nothing else.
Lovecraft was very taken by Dunsany's creation of a mythical pantheon of God. And Lovecraft eventually admitted that that's how he came to write the stories of the Cthulhu mythology. He took those Dunsanian gods, which are set in a fantasy world, and took them into the real world. And that's how he came up with his own complex story.
Though Lovecraft was now a published author, pursuing payment for what was only to be a personal pleasure was far from his idea of a gentleman, an existence that enjoyed being rather than doing. His fellow amateurs urged Lovecraft to go against his anti-commercialism and hire out his skills as a ghostwriter. As an invisible author, Lovecraft would be published many times between 1918 and 1920. With no practical experience in commerce, however, Lovecraft charged rates much lower than the standard of the time, barely clearing a minimum goal of $15 a week. Despite meager returns, this was a prolific time for Lovecraft. By 1921, he had written close to 17 stories.
Unhappy is he to whom the memories of childhood bring only fear and sadness. Wretched is he who looks back upon those hours in vast and dismal chambers, with ground hangings and maddening rows of antique books.
The glory of the outsider is that it is the story of the Gilbert and briefly coming into the file of maybe that's for all time and bringing back into the
A lone narrator emerges from his crumbling castle after a long seclusion. He comes onto the surface of the earth to find people fleeing in terror from a monstrous thing the narrator can plainly see before him.
I love the twist end, so
And that you're reading the story in the very last line the story scares you.
I was proud of this guy as he escaped from these catacombs. And the love that the real people saw him and screamed, and he saw his reflection.
And in horror, stretches out and touches a mirror, and then boom, at the end of the story.
Oh my gosh, he is a ghoul, he's a creature from the dark, because now we must go off with him. And I went back and reread it just to see how he's done it.
at his best, Lovecraft is as much as an existentialist as Albert Camus.
I know always that I am an outsider, a stranger in this century, and among those who are still men.
This is as strong a statement about how I felt in my teenage years as anything.
Everything very, very popular. This knowledge was biography. It was just about an unhappy child as a result. He was physically repulsive.
But did he feel that because of that he was an object of horror and everybody shunned him?
Certainly, in terms of his physical appearance, he was sort of embarrassed about a number of things. He felt he had these ingrown facial hairs, and that he felt that was a disfiguring factor.
So in a way, he was kind of using himself as a jumping off. I think he would come off much more as a weirdo that Colin Wilson makes him. If you really like these characters and stories, ultimately I don't think he was.
When Lovecraft emerged from his own isolation, the consensus of Providence was that the house on Angel Street was one to be avoided, and that Lovecraft and his mother were eccentrics. Though this view could be argued in the case of Lovecraft, Susie was indeed cause for concern. Her home life was one of hypertension, where Susie was known to cause major dramas over the slightest thing. On March 13, 1919, around the same time her son was emerging as a writer, Susie Lovecraft had been admitted to the same institution that claimed her husband years before. Susie Lovecraft passed away on May 24, 1921, not from nerves, but from a botched gallbladder operation. Susie's death was hard on Lovecraft, both emotionally and financially. She left her son a meager estate, which was already meager when she inherited it from her father. That inheritance, plus an equally paltry income from ghostwriting, barely met Lovecraft's expenses.
He made little enough money himself and usually survived by hideous cans of beans. But I have to wonder about Lovecraft and whether or not he would have taken any old job just to give him money. And I didn't think he would. He has a set of standards. And again, he had a level of pride that he is a gentleman, he is an author, and he's not going to just take anything.
Lovecraft moved in with his aunts, Lillian Clark and Addie Ganlow. But aunts were no substitute for a mother. His fiction writing waned. Relief came from one of Lovecraft's fellow journalists.
Trevor West Reanimator actually is a very funny story, and Lovecraft intended it, I think, to be funny. It was commissioned for a humor magazine, for which Lovecraft received all of $5 per installment. Keep in mind, it was a humor magazine called founded and edited by one of his amateur friends.
12 o'clock, 110 meters.
Okay, so you can't hit them too
I
hard.
don't have to.
So clearly, Lovecraft is encouraged to write just the most outlandish, flamboyant horror movies they go.
Lovecraft chafed under the restrictions of episodic writing. Still, the series debuted in January of 1922 under the banner Gruesome Tales, later to be titled Herbert West, Reanimated.
Of Herbert West, who was my friend after I can speak only with extreme terror.
Shooting in all directions.
That all life is a chemical process, and that the so-called soul is myth. My friend believes that artificial realization of the dead can depend only on what it feels special for.
I love
Strange. Supposed to be. What is that place?
What's he doing here setting traps for us?
Why is that for us? He was hunting something else. Something
A
out
lot
there.
of people think the Frankenstein.
The trunk was a deadfall. Rule of thumb on the deadfall is you set the weight 5 times that of a target animal.
Creating an artificial man.
Whatever it was, it got through the tripwires. I did this.
What Herbert West is trying to do is reanimate an entire.
Let's move.
Very different conception.
Adventures in reviving corpses was one of Lovecraft's favorite work. During this time, Lovecraft also developed a transformation with a xenophobic personality, travel, and the woman.
What is it?
Gathering as business and journalists in Boston. Of course, with his computer, Tuesday. The rare trips indicate a habit. Even if Lovecraft preferred to live in local traditions prevail. On such visits, even Lovecraft had some agree with New York. On March 16th, 1903, some more experience in the ways of the world. Having been married once before, he felt this It was an obvious inspiration for the By that time, they convinced Lovecraft to test the waters of New York City with a full number. She knew that Lovecraft
Hey, where are we going?
Someone put a saw on this rock. There's got to be a way out.
Ow! What the fuck?
would soon experience problems.
You know what?
Lovecraft had every reason to be
Fuck this.
Sonia had entered
This is
his
bullshit, man.
and in
I want a
March
gun.
1923, Weird
Come on, man. You got
Tales
two
magazine
motherfucking guns, man. Somebody give me a gun. Come on, Russian. You got a big fucking gun. Come on, man. Give me a gun. Give me a gun. Right now. Give me a gun.
There was a market. One day, the market like this, market like this, magazine like this. Even toilet paper, there is a market there, and there's a leader. That's the best way it was a road to the great hope from the lost and much better than hope implies.
Many factors of imaginative fiction will take up in the pages of Weird Tales. H.P. Lovecraft is no different.
This included the creation of
Inspired by the Greek.
Oh shit!
As bad as you are. Those things are worse.
Another short film can be seen
Rats in the Wall was a two-story.
So they just what left?
No. Originally.
They were caught. All right, listen up. Everybody do a shell count. You got to serve ammunition. Look,
Excuse me. What the hell is going on here?
There, he and his black leaders are disturbed by permanent behind the walls.
the cages, soldier, all of us. Our body feels uneasy. This one is the age. Where's the game? In case you didn't notice, just got flushed out. They sent the dogs out. We're waiting for the fucking board. Shoot the whale. They split us apart. Because that's what I'm about. I seem to be that was it. Then, as the swineherd paused and nodded over his task, a mighty swarm of rats rained out, sticking their claws and fell in beasts and animals.
You have the family visiting things.
Was snatched up by weird people in 1924. The first year and a half of Lovecraft's marriage was like brand that was in the country.
You can suffer.
Work, however, and Lovecraft's life in it was limited.
He didn't want to
Make it good for him.
So, any employment he could put in New York would be really close.
I know because I have done
The
this.
longer Lovecraft stayed in New York, the worse his xenophobes were retaliation against the immigrant association flourishing around him.
It's done.
He unraveled himself.
There's nothing else we can do, right?
Because of financial,
Right?
Sonia lost her hand shop. The job offer was greeted with enthusiasm by Sonia and loved it.
Cat.
That's on you.
This is just a free run. By the end of 1924, Sonia had no choice but to leave the books alone. Sonia would be back to support her husband, but her influence of the Lovecraft move was waning. His ridicule of the melting pot that was New York City reached many, even racist levels.
I certainly hope to see promiscuous immigration permanently curtailed soon. Heaven knows enough harm has already been done by the swords of the position Southern Europe and Western Asia.
For the most part, Lovecraft kept the views to himself. Well, his friends and colleagues it wasn't much to these things.
These are raised of hybrids called policemen despair of order or law and seek rather to break barriers from the contagion.
I don't think it's never correlate what people is right or who's anything we can do it on things that it's going.
video sexy. You could fall down.
That's how it goes.
But I believe
This is it.
also record.
It's game. It's false.
It's very, very easy. If you look at what
Run. Die. That's it.
these alpha is a really Jews.
You know where the other was. Oh, it's actually that way. Go after it.
Reacting analysis. Screen. And I think when you refer to I can New York work. Despite his perception of it as foreign, how to express getting something that works. He didn't know.
It became clear to friends that Lovecraft's exile in New York was leading to a breakdown.
We're not the only things we have.
Feared suicide. Help came from Lovecraft's parents, Owen and Eddie, who took a small book of their nephews back when the Jake was project. Someone offered to buy the house for him, but this was not New York. In Providence, Connie was made. If Lovecraft could not support his wife, he would distance himself instead. In April of 1926, Lovecraft returned to his beloved city. Was the snow of Lovecraft's richest area. An idea he had outlined in the an idea which became the most notable of Lovecraft's fictional. Mysteriously murdered on the streets of Rome. Sometime earlier, Angel had come into possession of a troubling sculpture. It represented a monster vaguely translucent outside, but with an
the monster is probably better than the paper.
Angel's investigations into how the village was taking place for their nephew.
This guy, so valuable. Papers as I did when your father died, a chore, but you know, if you do, you should find, sees on his friend,
Fuck is that thing?
This looks like actually now. He left us.
Is he?
Despite efforts to weave a rich narrative, the Call of Cthulhu was initially rejected by Puritan. This was common practice of the anthology's editor, Farnsworth, especially when presented with a story as original as Lovecraft's creation.
You set us up. You led us into that death camp, then hid and waited for the future strike. We were bait.
I needed to know who he was. Man is dead because of that. This morning you were ready to kill him. Well, it ain't this goddamn morning, is it? At least it ain't that. Why? Found out first thing what it feels like to have our asses kicked? No, we found out that there's more than one of them. That they use projectile or energy-based weapons. That they have some sort of cloaking device. That they're bigger than us. Stronger. Also heavy.
You put us at risk for yourself. You're gonna be on your own? You got it.
Why don't you tell them the truth?
In February of 1920,
I know you're talking about
Wait.
that thing that's so wait, yeah. She knows what it is. Don't you?
And the beginning of war's madness is a matter of dispute among alienists. Dr. Lyman ended Dr. McClure. Places it in 1920. This is totally forward by war. Especially by the continuing.
We don't have a name for them.
In 1771, we have an ancestor named Joseph Kerr.
He's back in Guatemala. And Spike Epstein went into the jungle. High end. 6 men plus a CIA liaison. And we won to get out. In his debrief, he said they came in contact with something. He gave a detailed description. It's another tone. It works kind of camouflage that adjusted to ambient light. Maybe they're using it. See in infrared. Heat signatures. He used mud to block his. That's how he beat it. It hunted until his scene. One by one.
Whatever it is. Wherever they're from. You set up a defensive perimeter. Make it look like we're holding up. That'll bring them to us. Force them into a choke. Get them in overlapping fire.
It
can be done. We can't do it alone.
Unfortunate accident. That was great. Bring beans. When they didn't have that, all they remained was the ultimate Roman thing. And then because of the tourists, I wasn't quite sure what destroy them, but maybe it was for sport, who knows.
Unspeakable horrors and retelling of the terrors.
I'm gonna do so much fun.
Well, and see something
I'll rape so many bitches. Man, I'm these fine bitches. But my people oh yeah. Body bod. Straight bean tacos. Just stay with me. Still pissed.
There was another example. Colorado Springs. Should be.
You know the difference between you and the same thing. You just do it for a country.
What happened to you? I'm just so fucked up.
It all began in 1842. There was no one living there.
And by night, all Arkham
There's a hundred armed men on the sky.
and buried
Like
himself in the ground beside the well. The near garden place. They had a seemed to be the sign of a large color embedded in the substance. The color
Come up with that by yourself?
No action.
almost impossible to describe. And
Those having
by analogy that they call it color at all.
Ben oui, je sais. Hein? Léo. Qu'est-ce qui se passe de bon, Léo? Viens me voir. Viens me voir.
She was being trained in something.
Oui.
Excursion to Massachusetts.
Stone columns on the hilltops, more generally attributed to the Indians than to the settlers.
Along the trunk of which was
Is he dead? My name's Carter. Oh shit.
Lovecraft, which
we're the ones who dropped it
It
here.
was in the township of Dunwich that Rover Whiteley was born up in February 1913.
Good shot, though.
Whately had no known husband, but according to the custom of the region, made no attempt to see the child.
And there was inbreeding between and brings what did he do?
Wilbur Whiteley's grandfather called his whatsoever in the
At the age of 10, Rover Whiteley attained an unnatural size.
Was remarkable for its maturity, exceedingly ugly despite his appearance of
The fuck? Alright.
There was something almost goatish or animalistic about his thick lips, large, yellow skin, spiky hair, naked ears.
What troubled the residents of Dunwich even more was the number of cattle purchased by Old Whiteley without ever increasing and the dreaded something, the Whiteley farmhouse. With 20 cattle and
Since you got here.
and
If I can smell you,
and I think invisible
they can too.
to a mysterious thing was heard in the woods. 5-star and great
Storm guns. Swag.
and Rover Whiteley spits on the library in search of a complete necklace. One that contained the rights of the old ones returned.
He's the gate. He's the key and guardian of the gate. Past, present, future, all are one in York's.
I'm the one that got away.
The Dutch Charter earned Lovecraft's biggest payday.
The one you don't fuck with.
$250. But again, Lovecraft failed to capitalize on his success. It was not right for more than a year. This time, Lovecraft's reticence was due to a desire for artistic growth.
But all my children and my bones to be pieces. At last, where are all the Lovecraft pieces?
Come on. Feel the vibe of this place.
With Lovecraft's sense of life,
There's a drill somebody up at night. She was dead. I was listening.
This self-improvement did not extend to his marriage, however. Since it returned to London, Sylvia had seen very little. While she remained in New York, for the sake of the career, his church city. On much to his death, after constant pleas with Sylvia, Lovecraft found for the books. Something Lovecraft had always loved. She remarried. He left her. Lovecraft had by the time it was published, the changes in Lovecraft could be glimpsed on the page.
Wow, what a shithole. You live here? Oh, wow. This is my son. I'm returning to live here. The school is just so much nicer there. Ooh la la. By the way, you're welcome.
Albert M. Moore of Miskatonic University begins to investigate the
Salvaging what I can. Whatever I can. Oh. No. I can't. Yeah. You drop y'all into. No. What a rush.
For the first time contact with his colleague Henry Akeley, creatures. What Akeley deems a deadly danger, however, turns out to be something else.
In the last day, when we began our investment, it was quite
Je peux même pas vous dire le nom du band. C'est 0111001001 11000011. Plein d'affaires de même. Le logo est long de même. Ils ont fait un logo. Si je les aime. C'est du brutal death metal. C'est long, en esti. Il y a un gros vocal gras, comme dans le temps de Carcass, Bill Steer de l'époque. J'aime ça au bout. C'est des Indonésiens. Parce qu'il y a un gros filon de brutal death metal indonésien, mais ils sont tous gore obsessed. Puis eux autres, c'est une des rares exceptions. Ils sont pas juste gore obsessed. Fait que j'aime ça. C'est plus philosophique, flyé, sci-fi. Là. J'aime bien ça. Sur ce, à tantôt.